Welcome to Understanding the Union's Role in Illinois' new short-term substitute license. This webinar is being brought to you by the Illinois Federation of Teachers Department of Professional Issues. My name is Monique Rideau-Smith, and I'm joined by my colleagues Amy Alsop and Kathy Manning, and we'll be talking with you today about the new short-term substitute license that was created to bring a measure of relief to so many districts in Illinois who are having extreme difficulties in obtaining substitutes. Now, while this new short-term license may ameliorate some of these challenges, the IFT firmly believes that unless we change the working and learning conditions of our schools, both the teacher and substitute teacher shortages will continue to pose a daunting challenge to districts. So, in this webinar, we have three main objectives. First, I will briefly describe the provisions of this new license and the requirements needed to obtain it. Next, my colleague Amy Alsop will discuss the training that was collaboratively developed with the IFT that is required to obtain the short-term license. And last but not least, Kathy Manning will discuss the actions you and your local union can take to make the best use of this new short-term license provision. So let's begin. This short-term substitute license was created in July 2018 under Public Act 1000596. And it's a short-term license because it expires on June 30th of 2023. The license is good for any district assignment in a public school and for any grade, so from pre-K all the way up to grade 12 in every Illinois county. But an individual with this short-term license may not teach more than 5 consecutive days in the same classroom or for the same licensed teacher. So under this provision, a district cannot hire a short-term substitute to take the place of a teacher missing 6 consecutive days or more. So this license could not be used for a teacher on an extended leave, for example. It also cannot be issued to anyone who has had a professional educator license revoked. It also cannot be used in place of a paraprofessional license. So if a district wants to hire an individual as a paraprofessional, that individual must have a paraprofessional license. So what's needed for someone to obtain this short-term substitute license? A person who wants to obtain the short-term substitute license must have the following: an associate's degree or 60 completed semester hours from a regionally accredited institution of higher education. They must also take and pass all criminal background checks outlined in the school code, and they must complete a required training program prior to working as a short-term substitute. To give you some more detailed information about what that training entails and how it can be accessed, I turn it over to Amy Alsop.
Thanks, Monique. So the law itself has specific substitute license training requirements for substitutes who are planning to work under this license. These training requirements became effective July 1 of 2018, which is the effective date of the act from the General Assembly. It requires specifically that each school board shall work in collaboration with the local teachers union to jointly develop a short-term substitute teacher training program. There are specific topics required in the school code for this substitute license training, which include curriculum, classroom management techniques, school safety, and district and building operations. Keep in mind, there are other ways to become a substitute teacher other than to obtain a substitute teaching license in the short term and then go through this short-term substitute license training. But this training is specifically for the short-term substitute license. A school board with a substitute training program in place before July 1, 2018 may utilize that program to satisfy this training requirement, or the union and board can decide to develop something else. In addition to that, the new law does not prevent school boards from continuing to offer substitute training for any substitute teacher licensed under any other provision of the school code. We at the IFT believe it's important that all substitute teachers be trained, and so we, urge all districts to provide training to substitute teachers so that they may be effective in providing for school safety and continuation of students' learning. This training requirement expires when the short-term substitute teaching license itself expires on July 1st, 2023. Now, one other piece that goes into play here, because the union and board have to make a decision and collaboratively develop training, the law also allows for the state to provide model training. This summer, the Association of Regional Superintendents of Schools, the Illinois Federation of Teachers, and the Illinois Education Association came together to develop a model training for our school boards and unions that would want to have a model training to access rather than develop something on their own. So the partnership, as you can see, is specifically Illinois Regional Superintendents, IARSS, IFT, and the Illinois Education Association. The Illinois State Board of Education was present as well, because at this time it's our understanding that ISBE will not be developing a model state training. So this training can serve to take the place. So representatives from these three groups that you see on the slide came together in August and September to finalize a model state training that the ROEs are able to offer. This training has content that complies with the school code. It's a 3-hour face-to-face training. The topics required in the law, specifically curriculum, classroom management, school safety, and district and building operations, are addressed. But in addition, this 3-hour face-to-face training exceeds the requirement of the law, including topics such as professionalism, legal, ethical issues, and teaching in special education. Under classroom management, there's additional information about trauma-informed and restorative practices. Under curriculum, there's a specific focus on curricular resources with a link to the AFT platform, Share My Lesson, so substitute teachers can access both specific lessons and content area they may be assigned to, as well as classroom management ideas and specific tips and strategies for substitute teachers coming into different classrooms. It's also important to note that this joint training developed by IARSS, IFT, and IEA does not delve into district and building operations specifically. This training was designed to be delivered statewide, and as a result, this topic is spoken of very broadly with strong recommendations for short-term substitutes to reach out to their own buildings and districts when they are assigned to them to understand specific district and building operations. Other information that we want to make sure you understand about the joint training: it is intended to be delivered face-to-face, not online. In addition to that, because of the requirement that the local school board and the local teachers union collaboratively and jointly determine this training, the partners developed a sample memorandum of understanding, or MOU, for the training provider, the local school board, and the local union president to sign. The purpose of this signature is to document that the board and the union agree that this training meets the requirements for individuals holding the short-term sublicense. The other piece that could potentially be challenging for individuals holding the short-term sublicense is documenting that they completed the training. So the partners recommend that the training providers provide some evidence of completion so that individuals who hold the short-term sublicense have documentation to take to the school boards to show that they have met the training requirements of this license. Because of the nature of the Illinois Association of Regional State Superintendents, they are a statewide organization. They've made this training, the handouts, the PowerPoint slides, the sample MOU, they've made all of it available to all regional offices of education and intermediate service centers statewide. So it is entirely possible that as a union leader you would be approached by either the superintendent of your school district or someone from the regional office to consider using this substitute training developed jointly by the state unions and IARSS as the training for your district, with the ask to sign off on that MOU. These jointly developed training materials include, as I mentioned, a slide deck with content and activities, handouts, the sample MOU. In addition to that, there's an introductory letter that includes logos with IFT, IRSS, and IEA that explains the materials. And there's also a training plan facilitator's guide for these materials. At this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Kathy Mannon, so she can talk about next steps for you to consider.
Thanks, Amy. So now that you know what the requirements are for the short-term sub-license and what the training requirements are, what's next? What are some actions that your local can take? So if your district is considering hiring subs with this license, it's really important that you, as a union leader, have contact with the district regarding the use of the short-term subs and the training they receive, because the Illinois School Code gives the union a role in that. It also would be important to ensure that the district is complying with the requirements for assigning subs who have this license. Things that you might consider as a local, if the district proposes to use the Regional Office of Education provided partnership developed training as a face-to-face, not online, the union president can be assured that this training was union developed because IFT was successfully a part of the training development. The IFT will not be providing the training to individuals obtaining this emergency license. However, webinar participants will receive a link to all of the training materials so that they may train potential substitutes for their districts. IFT will provide the training materials free of charge to our locals and councils so that they can partner with their district to deliver the sub training within their district to short-term subs and other subs. They will be able to customize the training to include specific district and school procedures, practices, and expectations. So if you have further questions after reviewing the information in this webinar, contact your local or council president or your IFT field service director, who will be able to help get you the information that you need. So on behalf of my colleagues, Monique Rideau-Smith, Amy Alsop, and myself, Kathy Mannon, thank you for your time. Thank you for your advocacy for your students and for the teaching profession.